Hello everyone, my name is Ben. Thank you for tuning in to Ben the Penman, and today I've got a really special episode about the Pokemon trading card game. In case you didn't know, the Pokemon trading card game is a trading card game about Pokemon. It's pretty popular right now. It's been around for almost 25 years at the time of recording, and I have something pretty cool to show you guys. These are packs from the set EX Ruby and Sapphire, which released in 2003, making it about 18 years old now. And I'm gonna open some up. This is a bit nostalgic for me, since I grew up in the Ruby and Sapphire era, and I remember a lot of these cards, even the commons and uncommons. You may have noticed though, these aren't in English, they're actually in Spanish, which means they're actually from the set EX Ruby Sapphire. Also, look at this reverse holo slag ink. It's cool. Why would I buy Spanish Pokemon cards, you may ask? Two reasons. One, they're cheap. In case you weren't familiar, older Pokemon cards are way expensive. And just because these are Spanish, they're all over and not too expensive. They come in 5 card packs instead of 10, which means you don't even get a reverse holo or a rare in every pack, but they're still cheaper in comparison to English cards, which go for multiple hundreds of dollars a pack. And the other reason I bought them is I speak fluent Spanish. I lived in Guatemala for 2 years, and ever since I got some Japanese cards for the first time, my goal has been to get my hands on some Spanish ones that I actually understand. Coupled with the fact that they're from an old nostalgic set, and I'm loving this. I mean, look at that Blaziken. And here it comes, the beautiful money pull, a Mewtwo EX. I have no idea what this is worth in Spanish, but in English this Mewtwo EX is the most expensive card in the set, so I'm super stoked to get that one on my last pack. You can probably see me shaking a bit when I revealed it. So that went well, but why is an art YouTuber opening Pokemon cards on his channel? Well, you see, I'm gonna make some of my own. I'm gonna show you a few ways to make custom Pokemon cards, and the first is what I did last year as a Christmas present to my family, since we're all into Pokemon cards. I wanted them to be holographic, so I printed the cards on see-through transparency sheets. These, I think, are used in those old school projectors I haven't seen in a while, where they just shine light through it and it projects whatever you have printed on the sheet onto the wall, but we can use them to make holographic cards. To do that, I used some holographic vinyl. It sticks to the back of the transparent cards and makes it look like a holographic card. Here you can see with the old materials from last Christmas, it looks pretty good. But how do we get the back on? I recommend a real card. It's pretty cheap to get spare energy cards online, and as you can see, I have a whole huge box. And if you just tape one to the back and put it in a top loader, it looks like a real card. But I'm sure you want to see the design process, right? To do that, I borrowed these energy symbols from this guy on DeviantArt, and I edited them to fit my needs. Then I made this template to use with my cards. I'm making this template so I can make lots of different cards in the future. I'm using the art program Krita, by the way. It's basically a free and open source alternative to Photoshop, and I use it for all digital art. I'm still learning a lot about digital art, but I've heard from a lot of people that Krita is one of the best programs if you don't want to pay for Photoshop, and from personal experience, it's really good. You can see I'm trying out lots of fonts and trying to match the ones Pokemon uses on their cards. I did some googling to find fonts they use on real cards, and the one I liked the best was this font Futura, so I have it all over the template. It's not exactly like any other sets, but that's on purpose. I kind of want to be my own set of cards. As you can see, I'm going to start by making a Totodile card, since he's my favorite Pokemon, but what we need for that is some art. We're going to start here with a nice sketch, and I'm going to start with making the line art. I'm just going to do the line art for the Totodile, and I'm going to do the background another way. For line art, I like to use a stabilizer, which basically just makes it so your movements affect the way the line goes down differently, and make the lines look a lot smoother. I've heard people complain that stabilizers are cheating in digital art, but honestly, if you have a tool, just use it. Also, it's not a tool you should be using all the time. I like it for smoother lines, but when I'm trying to block in colors, it's just annoying. After I do the line art, I decided to do the background. Honestly, if I were more organized, I would have done the background before the line art or after I colored in Totodile, but I guess this is just the order I did it in. I don't think the end result is any different for it though, so it's not too big of a deal. I don't really want super defined shapes in the background since Totodile is the star of the show, so I started by just blocking in color and then added detail until I felt like I was done. I decided to do a river by a waterfall in a forest, and I think it turned out pretty nice. For the coloring for Totodile, I know Krita has a bucket tool. I probably could have used it to color in Totodile faster, but I always have trouble getting bucket tools to work right. And instead of dealing with that hassle, I just did the colors myself. In the end, it wasn't too difficult, and it turned out pretty good. For the shading on Totodile, I just winged it. I started with an airbrush, but then took some more solid brushes and made highlights and more intense shadows. I actually really like the way it turned out. And now for the moment of truth, putting the image onto the card. You may notice I made some slight adjustments to the energies. I didn't like the flat beveled energies as much as I thought I would, so I put more highlights and shadows on them. Then to make it a PNG and print it out. And here we have the second method of making custom cards. We're going to laminate these. Do you like my custom back design, by the way? We have them printed double-sided, which is important as I'll show you later, and we have 9 cards on a sheet. I just used a Word document and edited the margins so it let me fit all 9 on the page. By the way, the quality of these depends on the quality of your printer. I got this in the self-service printers at Office Max, and they have some print lines, so you get what you pay for, I guess. I printed 2 in case one printed weird, and to check how well they line up, you can just hold them up to a light source. As you can see, this one is pretty good, so we'll be laminating this one. To do that, we just take the lamination sheet, which is basically 2 pieces of plastic, put it in the middle, and run it through a laminator. And here we have the fully laminated sheet. You can still see through this, so it isn't exactly like regular cards, but I think it's the most decent approximation I can do from home. Now to cut them out. I used a straight line cutter I got off Amazon, which is really nice for getting the edges straight, but just in case, I recommend having a pair of scissors, especially if you have a really cheap line cutter like I do. Here you can see I also have a little Charmander card. I didn't put as much work into the art, and I think it shows, but it's still a fun little card. Once you have one fully cut out, just use a corner rounder like this one I found on Amazon and round the corners. I recommend using the smallest setting for these cards. This isn't the first time I tried laminating cards though. My original plan was to print the card art and back art on different pieces of paper and laminating them together. The thought was that printers can make mistakes sometimes, so if I just print them separately, I can do the aligning myself. While the thought worked, there were some problems. The way they bend is weird. Each side only fuses with the plastic on the same side, so they feel like little packets of paper instead of one card. Also, you need to keep a little edge on the plastic on the outside, otherwise it'll separate the papers, and that doesn't look good. You might be able to print them separately if you find a way to fuse or glue the 2 papers together first, but I didn't, and printing them double-sided just works great. Okay, so those are the first 2 ways, the laminator way and the holographic way. Side note for the holographic way, if you use real cards as the back, try and make sure the size of the print is spot on, otherwise you might need to trim off bits of the back like me. But there is one more way which requires less printing. Just print it out on a sheet. You don't even need it double-sided like I have, and you can just put it in a card sleeve. It looks great, but if you want to play with it, it feels a bit flimsy. You can use a regular card like an energy, but you can also use these code cards you get out of packs, even after they're used. I recommend the solid green codes, because they're actually firmer than the white and green code cards. This is used to balance the weight of packs with and without holographic cards in them, so you can't weigh them and find out if they have hollows like you have in other sets, in case you were wondering why that is. And there you go! People generally use this last trick for deck building when they want to try out new cards but want to make sure they're useful in a deck before actually paying for an official card, but you can use it for cheap custom card prints too. So there they are, 3 ways to make custom Pokemon cards. So, what now? What kinds of cards will I make? Well, you may have noticed some suspicious silhouettes on the custom card backs I made. If you've checked out my website at thescratchofapen.weebly.com, you may have seen that I don't only draw already made Pokemon, but I also make a lot of my own designs. Since this video is already packed, that's all I have for today, but I have a lot of plans for future card making and Pokemon designing, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, like the video if you liked it, subscribe also if you liked it, comment about how much you liked it, and I hope I made your day just that little bit better. I'll see you next time.